Hello everyone, welcome to the moon in the D9 Navamsa chart. Now the moon is also known as Chandramsa when he is seen in the D9, and you should know is one of the most important markers to understand in this chart. So if you're new to my channel, don't forget to sub below, it'd be great to have you on board. And if the video is helpful for you, give it a thumbs up, thank you. Let's go. First of all, what is the D9 chart? The most important Varga chart to see. It is the 9th division of every sign coming from your birth chart. This D9 shows you your fortune, your destiny in this lifetime. Why is it happening? Because the 9th house in any chart is the house of fortune or Bhagya. So the D9 is our portion of fortune for this life. And of course, that is all fortune in all departments of life, don't forget. And especially, of course, marriage. It is the chart of relationship, spouse, and marriage. If you don't have a D9 Navamsa, by the way, most Vedic software bring it up for you. Definitely the link below, Devaguru, bottom of my description box, will actually bring you that up automatically. You do not have to sub to get the chart. Now, some important points about the D1, D9 together. There's a lot of misunderstanding out there. First thing, D9 operates from the moment you are born because it's coming from the birth chart, from the moment you drew breath. People think, oh, I become D9 later in life. D9 is now my new chart. D9 only happens after marriage. D9 begins to manifest when I get to about 30 or some such vague age. No, D9 is operating as an absolute chart of your destiny from the moment you are born, simultaneously with the birth chart. You need to understand this. Not only that, but D1 birth chart, D9 need to be analyzed together. Planets D1 should be seen D9. D9 position signs should come back into D1. There's a video on my channel, D9 Navamsa, been up there for some years now, and I've absolutely given you some of these really important techniques there. Check them out carefully. The link to that video is below this video in the description box. And something else very important, the D9, the Navamsa, should be rectified to be accurate for your predictions. Now, even if you have an accurate birth time, hospital record, maybe something like that, Navamsa ascendant changes certainly every 15 minutes, but for your own chart, for your own time of birth, you could find in a minute or two that the ascendant could change. Just a minute's difference or so, and it could all change. All the houses change, or the meaning of that D9 Navamsa will completely be different. So it's very important to rectify D9. To help you do this, on my previous video, as I say, it's been up on my channel for some time, D9 Navamsa chart video. On there, I have given you a very good technique looking at the Navamsa trines. Check that video and definitely you should apply that technique. In addition to that, of course, this series itself, looking at the house placements of the planets D9, will hopefully help you with rectification as well. Now, here's a very important point. The planets by sign in the D9, are they different to the planets by sign D1? No, they are not. The sign is a rasi. Rasi means a heap of karma. Therefore, let's say Venus placed in Taurus. Venus in Taurus will have the same meaning because Taurus is the same in every Varga. So Venus in Taurus, D1, D9, D3, D60, anywhere at all, any Varga will have the same basic meaning, the same karmic implication. It isn't the sign that's going to make things shift, it's the house. That's why ascendant is important. So planets by sign and their karmic significance. There's a whole playlist on my channel, everyone. Planetary karmas by sign. Please check them out and check the meaning of your D9 planets in their signs in that playlist. I will put the list below for you. And when you see those meanings, you can integrate them naturally with the house placements in the D9 that I'm going to go through for you in this series. But when we consider the houses in the D9, This is different. The houses do not have the same meaning, D9, as they do birth chart. There are some definite overlays. Definitely similarities will always be there, but there are specific differences. Check the video on my channel, link below, Houses D9. Check out that carefully, because if you don't listen to that, much of what I'm going to speak about in this whole series is not going to make so much sense. So check out the meaning of the D9 houses, and then the planets in the houses hopefully will become much clearer to you. Now, the moon in the D9 chart, everyone, is so important to understand. Every planet, of course, but the moon is especially pertinent to understanding our experience of relationships, beyond which you would have thought previously, many of you perhaps. The moon is Chandramsa in this D9 chart. So the moon Chandramsa is showing us, are you emotionally nourished? Are you happy? Are you feeling secure? Do relationships make you feel good? That's the thing. Do you have good experiences? It isn't just about feeling or this is all in your mind. No, this is real experiences happening to you. This is very different to what Venus represents. See, Venus shows attraction, Venus shows mating, all of these things, sexuality. Venus can even show gorgeous looking spouse. Strong Venus in the D9, Venus in the 7th house sometimes can show a very good looking spouse. But is that going to make you happy, nourished, content? Not necessarily. Only the moon D9 tells us about your emotional happiness and security in relationships. So it's such an important thing. You have to remember this. Now, this moon in the D9 is a chart unto itself. This Chandramsa can be seen as the ascendant in a chart of your emotional happiness in relationships, judging all the houses around, and your satisfaction in life. Check the video on my channel, Moon Chart, link below. You can apply many of those techniques to this D9 moon as well, and you definitely should do so. Now, the moon sign D9, I cannot emphasize enough how the sign of the moon itself, you should understand it extremely deeply. Take a lot of time to understand it. Why? This affects your whole destiny, not just relationships. Why, everyone? Because D9 is your baggy of fortune, and this moon D9 is your emotional reaction coming from past life deeds. It is your most basic self, okay? And this is how you will deal with every circumstance in life. Moon D9 shows specific circumstances of your destiny, and it will show what you do when your back is up against the wall. Moon D9 shows how you react to all the ups and downs in your destiny. I cannot tell you how important it is. It isn't just about relationships. Moon is society, community. How connected are you to other people generally in the world, in society? Moon sign D9 tells you all about that. And of course, circumstances in your intimate partnership. As I have said, yes, the moon is what you need in a relationship. How do you express it though? And how do you respond to other people, partner, particularly emotionally? Are your emotional needs fulfilled? Are you happy or not, relationship wise? All of this, Moon D9 sign tells you so much. So check the video on my channel, Moon Karmas, all signs. The link is below. And the other factor is the aspects to the moon, particularly conjunctions to the moon. Now, when you see benefics with the moon, like Jupiter, Venus, or aspecting the moon specifically, this is favorable for happiness in relationships generally. Mercury is a mixed factor. Sometimes can be benefic, sometimes is not benefic. Generally, Mercury and the moon are not friends to each other, so you have to judge Mercury a little bit differently. I'm going to give you a chart example, actually, of this moon-Mercury factor. So benefics are very helpful with the moon aspecting to the harmony of your intimate relationships, feeling good in relationships, in society, connecting to the community as well, feeling fulfilled in life, you see. But when the malefics get involved, as you can imagine, it gets a lot more difficult. Malefics are the Sun, Saturn, Mars, Rahu, and Ketu. Of course, many charts have both malefic and benefic influence, so you need to balance that out carefully. Check it out. But when it is mostly malefic, well, this is where we're going to have some difficult circumstances coming up time to time, most definitely. Let's be clear, malefic aspects to the moon D9 do not deny marriage, do not mean that you're going to be single forever. Some charts you may be, but that's because you want that or you need that time to yourself and you have something else to pursue in life. But generally speaking, it's about your internal experience of relationship and the experiences which come to you through other people as well. Let's take Saturn with the moon. Saturn gives a constricting effect when he is aspecting or with the moon. There's a little bit of loneliness, a bit of a sense of isolation, being separate, because Saturn is a separating aspect. It doesn't mean divorce, but there's an emotional separateness. That's the thing. Moon Saturn people are very independent, that's the thing, and mood can become depressed, mood goes down. They're serious people, need a lot of time alone. Obviously, this is going to impact big time on the intimate relationship. So Moon Saturn gives a fear of rejection or actual experiences of rejection, which are harsh and troubling, and therefore gives a protective atmosphere to the mind, to the emotions. So there's a fear that people are just going to hurt you, so you better not trust. There's a lack of trust, connectiveness coming in. Now, Mangala connecting to the moon is the opposite of that moon Saturn. There's emotional expression happening, definitely, but it's a bit violent, it's a bit volatile, it's fiery. So there is constant argument or constant contention, constant expression of need, which can be difficult, or you can attract people who are like this. But any Moon-Mars aspects definitely give you unsteadiness in your emotional responses. You can be fiery, you can be volatile, you can be jumpy, you can be all over the place. And this does not make for easy relationship experiences generally. If the North Node Rahu connects to the moon or aspects the moon D9, be careful that you are being open, honest in your relationships, or that other people are, because you can attract some difficult types of partners sometimes, or be attracted to people who are a little bit outside of society. Nefarious activities maybe, who knows, depends on the whole chart, but you are not looking for a normal, steady relationship. You like emotional excitement, change, and therefore Moon Rahu can definitely give some difficult, challenging emotional experiences. Best case scenario, you can meet partner traveling, or you are getting together with somebody from a completely different culture to yourself. Thing is though, you must have honesty, clarity in every relationship encounter. That's the most important thing. The moon with Ketu, just like moon with Mars, gives that fiery reaction in relationships, like a sudden emotional response, but it is more internalized. Things can blow up fast in a relationship when there is Moon Ketu. Extremes can happen, extreme circumstances. Moon Ketu is a spiritual thing, so what you're looking for is a spiritual factor in relationships. That need must be met. There should be similarity of spiritual outlook with your spouse, or harmony will not be there. And K2 is always a bit reclusive, a bit outside of normative society. You can be in society, in the community, but different to them, set apart a little bit. This can be seen. When Sun is connected to the moon, aspecting the moon D9, there can be ego clashes with the partner. There can be a whole different outlook in life which needs to be accommodated. But the Sun-Moon conjunction has a dosh effect in Varga charts. You have to understand this. That means difficult karmas coming in. So in the D9, wherever Sun with the Moon is, people connected to that house, there can be disturbances there. I'm going to actually show you chart example in a minute. And finally, transits to the moon D9. All transits, but especially Shani Saturn. Watch for the Sati D9. It's very important. Saturn gets 12 to the moon with the moon D9, second sign to the moon D9. This is a Sati most certainly. People don't like this when I mention this many times on my videos. People, oh, no, please, one Sati is enough. Well, actually, this Sati is a change in your destiny, and it's very important to note it. So when Saturn goes 12 first, second to the moon D9, your whole destiny in life goes in a different direction. It's extremely important. Let's see one or two quick example charts just to help you see the principles. I'm not planning to do this every video in a series at all, but I think here with the moon being so important, it's probably a good idea just to show you a few of these examples. Let's look at Sir Winston Churchill, the famous war leader, Prime Minister in the UK during the Second World War. He has a moon-Saturn conjunction, emotional constriction, and a deep depression came to Sir Winston Churchill. There's even more malefic affliction. Rahu has his second aspect onto the moon and Saturn. So two malefics, Rahu Shani, are afflicting the moon in the chart of Winston Churchill. With Guru in the 8th house of tragedy and trauma and extreme circumstances like war, of course, is having his full 9th drishti on. This is favourable and is definitely saving the day. Now, Sir Winston Churchill was famous for his really dark moods, depression, we would say today. He went into these deep, dark, melancholy depressions, and he had a word for them. He called them the black dog. And he would say, I'm in the black dog, leave me alone. He wouldn't bother anyone else. He would shut himself away in his room, in his study, for days dealing with this dark mood. What would he do? It's in Gemini. He would think it through slowly. He would intellectualize it, rationalize it, and he would come out of it. He was immensely resilient, and there's a toughness about moon Saturn people generally. It isn't just about being depressed and lonely and sad. No, it's about having a tough mind, a strong mind. Interesting too, Sir Winston Churchill would not just say goodbye to people when he was talking to them. He had a very famous catchphrase he would use. You can Google this. It contains a swear word, everyone, so I can't say it on YouTube, but the polite version is that he would say to the ladies, apparently, was keep plodding on. But the actual phrase is much more evocative. He was trying to give his resilience, his determination to other people, lift them up. And during Second World War, of course, this Rahu aspect came into a full flow because Rahu, Mercury, wow, I mean, what an incredible communicator, third house, aspecting moon Saturn in the homeland, the country. He motivated people with his speeches, such as we will fight them on the beaches, fight them on the landing stage, we will never surrender. He knew about depression, darkness, but good thing is here, because Guru aspects, he helps other people come out of their darkness as well. He's a chart of Prince Harry, more popular, I think, in California, America than he is in the UK right now. But anyway, here it is. He has the moon and sun conjunct in the 4th house of the D9 chart. It isn't just the moon, though. Just check out Saturn has a 10th aspect right onto this moon-sun. So two malefic influences, sun and Saturn, are coming towards this moon. It's an afflicted moon in his D9. Goodness then that Guru, Jupiter, is coming to the rescue, aspecting the moon. Thank goodness there is some benefic factor coming. This is fortunate, but it's more malefic than benefic. But still, I would say this very strong Jupiter gives him quite a bit of fulfillment, but quite a lot of emotional constriction for Harry that we may not see. Let's unpick it a bit more. First of all, this moon is in Sagittarius, so he's a fiery character, fiery emotions, expresses his emotions. But there's this dosha happening, Sagittarius. He is impelled to be in foreign shores. He goes to live there. Is he happy there? Not totally, but he has this karma to go there. But the big dosha is around mothering as well. See, fourth house is still mother, even though it's in D9, but it has a 12th house implication. Foreign lands, loss. And he lost his mother when she was abroad, foreign land, when he was a very young boy. Now, there's a lot more to see supporting that in this D1 chart, but here it is, dosha in this D9 chart. But is he happy in his relationship? Well, moon, sun, you see, sun with the moon is going to give, or even sun aspecting, here it's with the moon, it's going to give ego problems with the spouse. Definitely, as I have discussed, Saturn gives constriction, loneliness, feeling of isolation, feeling of not being understood. Saturn's in the house of spouse, coming straight onto this moon. It's a bit of a controlling factor. Is he being controlled? Well, I think he is a little bit, I'm afraid. And Guru, though, is the good factor, giving him wealth, giving him some sort of status in life, which is fulfilling in itself to some extent. By the way, final passing point is that Prince Harry is not the only one of his family to have this sun, moon, dosha type aspect. His father, King Charles, has the sun, moon in his D9 chart in the 9th house, giving constriction, difficulty with the father, his father. Prince Charles, as he was, had a terrible, really bad relationship with his father. It caused him a great deal of distress. And just to emphasize how important is Sati D9, changing your whole destiny. I've just spoken about it. Prince Harry married in 2018 when Saturn was conjuncting this moon sun in his D9 chart, and he completely gave up his royal duties, completely changing his destiny during this same Sati. So you see, this is something which you should never miss. Sati in the D9 chart. Next, the chart of Marie Antoinette, the Queen of France. I wanted to bring her chart in because she has, as you can see, this Moon-Mercury conjunction in the 10th house. Mercury with the moon is a special factor, and she's a really good example of this. In case you don't know who she is, she was the Queen of France in the 18th century in the French Revolution. She was beheaded, guillotined, as was her husband, Louis XVI. It was a life of luxury, abundance, but also tragedy. Now, there's a lot more to say here about her charts, and I've actually done a whole analysis, at least D1 analysis, in my aspects video. Check it out. So much interesting information here, Mahadasha, etc. A very interesting, though tragic life experience to analyze Marie Antoinette. But still, let's look at this D9 moon. It's in Libra. She wants to cooperate. She wants to facilitate other people. Libra is about society. She needs to be with other people. To feel happy, emotionally satisfied, she needs a intellectually stimulating relationship because the moon is with Mercury. At the least, she needs fun, laughter. That sort of relationship situation's going to make her feel good. But did she get that with her husband? Absolutely not. Louis XVI was quite intellectually limited, if you could put it that way. Actually, what we would say these days was that he had special educational needs. But in a nutshell, he was boring. He was a bit of a bore. All he wanted to do was to go out and hunt. He wasn't interested in even having conversations with his male friends like that. He didn't like small talk. He didn't like anything intellectual. He wasn't that clever, basically. So he was a no-go to fulfill this Moon-Mercury need for Marie Antoinette. Don't forget, this was an arranged marriage. She had no choice of her husband. She was an Austrian duchess and she was just married to this heir to the throne of France. We can see a lot of frustration, feeling of isolation here because Saturn aspects full on again to this moon, giving her an element of not being fulfilled. And the last look at the two benefics, Venus, Lord of the moon sign, is directly impacting the moon. This is good. And Jupiter, the other benefic, has his fifth aspect here. This is excellent. So two benefics are still giving some satisfaction to the moon. So where did this come from? Where did this emotional happiness come to Marie Antoinette? Well, certainly from her children. Guru is children. She was very close to her children. Of course, Jupiter Ketu, there was difficulty at the end of her life, tragedy, separation. We're not going to go there. But she did have close bonds to her kids, very close indeed, beyond which a queen of that time actually would expect to have with her children. Well, of course, her friendships were the key because Mercury is friendships. Moon, Mercury, friendships are so important to her. But Venus aspecting, they were highly romanticized. She had one or two extremely close female friends. But you have to remember, these sort of close romanticized friendships in a way were very common among upper class ladies at the time. They were the norm. It means they got these very close romanticized friendships with their friends. And it was mostly, 99% of the time, this was completely platonic. Has to be said, of course, Mercury is homosexuality, but this is in the house of reputation. Don't forget, was it actually that she was having sexual relationships with her intimate friends? Well, actually, there is no evidence at all for that, but her enemies made the most of it because Guru in the house of open enemies is aspecting secret enemies as well. Of course, Guru aspecting here. So the Revolutionary Party used these very close friendships to scandalize her, to damage her reputation completely. But she did have one male lover, at least maybe he was her lover, but she was deeply in love with a Swedish count. I can't think of his name now. He was a very dashing, romantic type of figure, definitely. And she was deeply in love with him. Once again, whether it was consummated or not is not certain. But of course, Saturn is still sorrow, suffering, and it's coming towards this moon Mercury. So you see, at the end of her life, when she was imprisoned, her husband dead, still had her kids for some time, but then they were taken away from her as well. One of these close friendships, I think her name was Louise de Lamballe. Princess de Lamballe was hacked to death in the street, brutally murdered, and her decapitated head, this is pretty gruesome, everybody, was put on a pike outside her window. Did she see it? I think not. I think something happened and she didn't have to see it, but how gruesome, how terrible. So quite a lot of suffering, sorrow, but happiness, pleasure as well. A very mixed and dramatic horoscope, actually, Marie Antoinette. And to bring in transits of Saturn again during the time when she was in prison, when her kids were taken away, husband executed, friend butchered, all the rest of it. Saturn was in Aries sign in the fourth house of her D9 chart. That's a difficult transit, but seventh from the moon, very challenging. Conjunct the dispositor of the D9 moon Venus and having a 10th aspect to Saturn in this destiny chart. So you see, never forget Saturn's transits in the D9. So what happens when the moon, Chandra, is in the first house in a D9 chart? Well, this means an emotional response to life. You're very sensitive. Everything is a big emotional roller coaster. That's the thing. Thing is, how you express these emotions depends on the sign. If the moon, let's say, is in Capricorn, Saturn sign, that's going to tone it down. Aquarius, it's going to be a bit erratic emotion, so on. That's why it's so important to see the sign of the moon. And the moon is not in a loner position. This moon needs company, needs to be with other people, likes to be with people. That's the thing, because moon is community. You seek the community company of other people. That's what makes you happy. By the way, moon in the first house like this, such a strong Kendra moon, first house you in the D9 is such a strong factor that you should recognize yourself immediately, even if there are malefic afflictions. But if you are thinking, oh, I'm not sure I want to be in society, I don't like people that much, you want to shift D9 ascendant. There's a minute or two difference, perhaps. Rectification is needed, putting the moon 12th house or second house. Check out those readings as well. Now, moon is the mother. Moon in a Kendra house, 1, 4, 7, 10 in any chart is big with the mother, but in the D9, it's a whole destiny thing. Your mothering or your lack of mothering or the karmic factors connected to mother are huge. All depends on the aspects, benefic or malefic. That's what you have to see. Now, this moon's going to be a changeable factor because the moon's waxing, waning. You can be moody this way, that way. But deep inside, you desire to be nurtured and to give nurture in a relationship. You can be clingy or you can be demanding of your partner. That can happen. Subtly demanding, not overtly. Well, if you have Mars here, that's something else. But generally, you can be demanding, needy a little bit. Or you can want to give. You can be like, I've got to take care of you. I want to mother you. Whether you're male or female, you have that attitude towards your spouse. The moon here can show singing talent because you connect to the public through emotion. Very, very good singer. Very good player of one musical instrument. Seen this quite a lot as well. So musical talent very often connecting to the public. Maybe a writer, but some connections coming through an artistic form, coming naturally to you. You may have actually had this past life. Now it's coming into full expression. Moon is about attracting public appeal as well, so you can get a little bit of a following sometimes with this moon, or at least you can be popular. You can appeal to other people. People are drawn to you generally, that's the thing. Moon is food. You can have a big issue with food, either good or bad, maybe cook a lot or maybe have body issue concerns, shape of your body concerns you, diet issues, compulsive eating, bulimia, anorexia. Food is a big thing when the moon is in ascendant here in the D9. And the moon is home, domesticity, having a nice home, having a pleasant home, having a peaceful home. Your home environment is essential to your happiness. You put a lot of attention into your domestic sphere, and this sphere of life is essential to your emotional well-being. Sometimes if it is a negative moon, there could be entitlement, like you feel entitled to people's attention. Now, this is a very negatively afflicted moon here, where you feel like, well, people should be taking care of you, treating you better, feel like you're a little bit of a victim, not being looked after properly or not being taken into account. So you are very sensitive to how other people treat you. You have to increase independence of mind when you have the moon in the ascendant of the D9. The moon in the second house of the D9 Navamsa is another food issue type of placement. Yeah, there can be eating disorders, difficulty, but it's more of a controlled thing. Here, you turn to food for comfort, for security. Food is massive in your life when the moon is second house, because the second house naturally is about the mouth, eating, but it's also correlating to the 10th house issues. So dealing with food, dealing with body shape is important even in your public image. Many people with this moon. And you may work with food sometimes, occasionally. It's the house of the voice, you see. So the moon here can give you a very lovely speaking voice if it is not afflicted. This moon gives you a very persuasive voice. You can persuade people, mesmerize them by your speech. It's a house of moral values as well. And this second house shows money coming to you through your speech, through your talent, through your communication, because it is a big money house in the D9 chart. It's about moral issues as well. You're very emotionally attached to your morals, deep values, fixed on them, really. And this can cause conflict with the spouse. First spouse in particular has to share these moral issues because this is 8 away from the first spouse. If first spouse is not having same moral values, perhaps they like to eat differently, perhaps they don't like to eat vegetarian food, or perhaps they are vegetarian, you are not vegetarian. That's just one example, right? But it can be any moral factor. If there is a political divide, moral divide between you, values of life, it can cause conflict. And it's a house of second spouse. So if there is a second spouse having in common moral values, religious values, this is going to really help that relationship succeed as well. Now, the moon in this second house can get a bit obsessive about their face, about their looks even. And once again, this is something which you have to see from the whole chart and the aspects. But this could show cosmetic surgery, changes, very, 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 very cosmetically inclined about their looks, maybe a little bit vain at times even, because this moon is sensitive to how they are perceived by the public. It's great for business people, though. Independent business, entrepreneur, fantastic. Even family business, something coming from the family can be a money winner for you. It's a secretive moon, though. Sometimes you are secretive about feelings, emotions, hiding them. There is an intensity, there is a compulsivity to your emotions, especially in relationships. You need to be open with your spouse every moment. You can be drawn to occult study, though, astrology, all of these things, and they can be financially beneficial if there is a good aspect to the moon. Now, the moon gone to the third house in the D9. This is a house of sexuality, attraction, sexual intercourse, mating. What can I say? We can see the way this is going to go because the moon is the mind. That's the thing. It's a super restless mind moon, but it's hyper attracted to other people. There can be love affairs, quick attractions, sexuality very strong. If this moon is 7th house lord, then spouse may be that way as well. Now, President John F. Kennedy is a really good example. He has Moon D9 third house with Mars. Wow, I mean, he was known for his many extramarital affairs. He was always finding new attractions, almost compulsively. So what keeps you together with a spouse with this moon? Communication with the spouse. You must have a deep communication about everything, not just small talk, no, but about religion, 9th house, philosophy, 9th house, politics, even all these deep things. Even arguing with the spouse is okay, as long as you can speak to them, talk to them, get stimulating conversation. It's a lucky house, though, D9. So people are good for you. People promote you. People like you. Friends adore you. You can get popularity through your talent. Maybe writing talent on the internet, speaking, social media influencer. All these can be there. But Moon D9 third house makes you physically restless, traveling a lot, getting around a lot. You can become bored if you're in the same place all the time. Committing to a home, family, it's a big thing for you. And finally, watch definitely when the malefics, Rahu, Mars, Ketu, Mangala definitely get involved. There can be scandal with this moon. In your network circles, things get around and things can harm you coming back to you. Whole chart has to be seen, but you have to watch your back a little bit. You have to be very open with your spouse and you have to be publicly responsible in some way. This moon can be very erratic sometimes. Moon in the 4th house, D9, you like your privacy. You want privacy, some time alone. And in a relationship, your domestic sphere with your spouse. That private domestic relationship with your spouse is so emotionally important to you. Now, you may have a very public life by this moon, but if you don't have time to yourself, privacy, you feel definitely as though you cannot cope. You have an emotional response to any invasion of your privacy. It's interesting here because obviously, just like first house D9, moon D9, fourth house, wow, what a karma with your mother. There's some deep karmic factor with her. Sometimes she may actually be from foreign shores. For example, we've just seen the chart of Winston Churchill. His mother came from America. He had a dual citizenship, don't forget. So there is this pull towards foreign shores coming as well because 12th house influence is coming into this D9 fourth house. Once again, we've just seen Prince Harry, D9 moon, fourth house. You may even settle abroad, but there is still this deep connection to your home country. It is absolutely karmic. And your home itself, domestic space, is very emotionally important to you. You like that special corner, special space, special room in a house where you can just shut yourself away and feel emotionally content. Feel safe. It's a feeling of safety. When you think about the moon D9 fourth house, despite need for privacy, home life, loving, domestic comforts and all of that, all the lovely sense of safety, the moon desires 10th house, desires status, desires to do something for the world. You care about world affairs. You want to do something in the community that will help other people because moon is about helping others. Moon is not a selfish factor wherever it's found in a horoscope. Disturbance malefic to this moon, you become full of anxiety. You can get high anxiety level that makes you feel really anxious even in your public life. You have to become aware of this. You need a spouse who can nurture you. You can nurture them. You can have a home life which is totally feeling fulfilling to you emotionally. If there is disturbance in your home life with your spouse, this is almost impossible for this moon. And watch your health because this is the Kara Bhava D9 chart. So this is where health issues connected to the moon. When you become emotionally disturbed, this can seriously affect your health. So relaxation, time alone, meditation will help you calm things down, help your health. Watch the bhukti of the moon coming into your life. This can show some health issues coming up. When the moon's in the fifth house of your chart, has a lot in common with the moon in the first I've just spoken about. You're a nurturing person. You desire to be nurtured in a relationship and you want to give nurturing, caring. You can even be protective to your spouse and children at the same time. You're a bit of a mother figure, whether you're male or female, because fifth house is about kids. It's about caring for next generation. Teachers, educators often have this moon, fifth house D9 as well. You can have an intense social life with your spouse, particularly first spouse, because it is 11th house from that first spouse. You can meet spouse in society, be in society quite a lot with your spouse as well sometimes. Karmas with your children are very strong when you have moon in the fifth house, but you have to see the sign and the aspect that makes a difference. Malefic aspect, there can be struggle with at least one child. Benefic aspects obviously are going to help. It's a house of talent, so some past life musical talent very often, singing talent, playing an instrument maybe, just like first house can be there. But here it's not so spontaneous. Here it is still pretty much innate, but you need a little bit of nurturing, but you like to do it your way. Moon here is a little bit independent in that you don't want to be taught how to do things. You want to do them your way. You can be very good actor actually here, very good in presenting emotion in some way to the public. Maybe writer as well if Mercury gets involved, definitely. In certain charts, because this relates to the first house ascendant, you can have food issues, issues with eating affecting body type. So you can put on a little bit of weight if there is negative affliction, or even if Guru gets involved, because fifth house in the D9 relates to the first house. So you're a nurturing, caring, giving person, and people are drawn to you very often because of this, particularly friendships. You have a big influence in your friendship circle, or they have a huge influence on your psyche. Now, the moon in the sixth house is going to get you into some sticky situations sometimes, get you into competitive situations, whether you want to be in them or not. Drawn into contentious situations, particularly workplace or in intimate relationships. You mightn't seek the contention, seek the argument, but it always seems to be seeking you a little bit. That can happen. But you care about others. You care about helping others, serving others. Even non-human animals are very special to you indeed when you have the moon in the D9 sixth house. Now, this is a house where there is legalities, fighting, contention for causes as well. So, moon here, you can get yourself into social causes, helping underprivileged people, needy people, animals, as I say. You are very dedicated to helping people, helping situations. You just can't stand aside. When there is suffering, you feel the need to get involved. You get emotional satisfaction helping other people sort out their problems, though. So, yes, there could be legal work involved. You could be a lawyer or litigation lawyer, union boss, especially when there is Mangala involved, Rahu particularly. Be aware of excessive anxiety, though, affecting sleep and definitely affecting relationship with spouse. So here's the thing. First spouse, particularly, moon has gone behind the house of the first long-term or spousal relationship. Now we have to see seventh house Lord, see a lot more, but this can show that you're not sharing all your emotions with your spouse, particularly first spouse. There is something hidden. There is some hidden anxiety. Very important to bring out anxiety. Share with the spouse honestly your deep emotions when you have the moon in the sixth house of the D9. See, this moon is a very private person. You need privacy. You are serving community, but do you want to be with them all the time? Do you want to socialize excessively? Not at all. But getting harmony with your spouse, as I say, depends on the deep sharing of your emotions. And this is the actual house of celibacy. Yes, the sixth house is about lack of sexual contact, celibacy. So for some time in your life, you may be celibate, or you may seek to limit sexual connection with the spouse occasionally, not always, or there can be lack of sexual compatibility. But it's really hard to judge just from the moon, just one planet, everybody. What we can say is you need some element of time alone and freedom from the demands of intimacy at some point in your life. Now, as I say, even though it's important to keep busy, this moon, particularly afflicted or having a lot of dynamic aspects, you can actually drain yourself emotionally with this giving nature. So what have you got to do? Balance things out. Give yourself time for spiritual pursuits. 12th house. Go into retreat, meditation. Have that privacy time alone, which you need to regenerate your whole emotional fulfillment. The moon in the seventh house of the Navamsa. Now, the Navamsa is all about relationships, and seventh house is the spouse, specifically the first spouse, first long-term relationship. These days, that can be a bit tricky to judge, but that's how you should take it. It's also looking at you, ascendant. So just like moon first house, this is a very critical placement. And just like fourth house moon, it means a special connection to mother. Mother was either good for you, caring for you, or she was just not around. Mother could have been having difficult circumstances. Mother may not have known how to nourish you if there are malefics aspecting this moon. So nourishment is the thing. Caring, bonding, being with another human being in some form of friendship, relationship is essential. You need somebody else, someone special in your life, or you cannot feel fulfilled. It can get a bit complicated here because Moon is in 7th house spouse, but it's aspecting ascendant you. So this Moon shows that your spouse can mother you, nourish you, care for you, protect you, particularly first spouse, if there are no malefic afflictions. If the malefics are involved, that will not be the case exactly so easily. So if Mars is here, Saturn is here, Rahu, Ketu are here, that's not going to be so smoothly happening. But you get identity from the spouse. Your whole feeling of fulfillment comes from other people. So a balanced attitude to life is important. It's very important to nourish your own identity as a person, not depend too much on other people, depend too much on the spouse, and it could become difficult. Sometimes spouse can be medical person, caring person, person who is in the community, serving community as well, because Moon represents that. But here's the thing, Moon is fame as well. Moon aspects you. You can get fame in your own right. You can get popularity with the public as well sometimes with this Moon, 7th house. Of course, the whole charts have to be seen. Now, the Moon in the 8th house is what we call a Marnakarikasthana position, where emotions feel restricted. Moon doesn't express emotions or feels secretive about them in this 8th house. Check the video on my channel about Marnakarikasthana planets to understand more about this D9 Moon, of course, in the 8th house. Now, the whole D9 has to be seen, but again, there can be difficulty in the early mother situation, nurturing, or you have to mother spouse a little bit, or become someone who has to give a lot to others, but you don't feel as though your heart is really in it. Moon here is not feeling so much protected, but has to give a lot out to the family, has to give a lot to the spouse maybe sometimes. This can occasionally be seen. And the Moon's waxing and waning, and is in the house that sustains a first relationship. So there can be changeable emotions in the first spouse, with the first spouse, or the first long-term committed relationship. Things can switch, things can change. That's the issue. If there are malefics involved, this can be quite difficult. There are difficult emotions which you are not sharing with your spouse. That's the other thing. It's an interesting position because there's a close emotional bond with the spouse, and particularly first relationship. Even if you do split or you separate, very often you could remarry, reconnect, or maintain some close bond between you. A very good example is Prince Andrew in the British royal family again. Now, he's not doing too well now, having a lot of scandal, but that's not just about the Moon here. One thing, though, he split from his first wife, Sarah Ferguson, a long, long time ago, but for a long time as well. They've been living together, even though they are divorced, and bringing up their children together. That's a sort of interesting dynamic can happen with this Moon 8th house. Another good example, the Hollywood legend, film star Marilyn Monroe. I've done quite a lot about her on my channel, but just before she died, she has the Moon D9 in the 8th house. She was, it is said, widely reported, about to marry or thinking of remarrying her second husband, Joe DiMaggio. So I've seen that the Moon 8th house definitely will give very deep connections, very deep bonds with your partner, some of which are unbreakable no matter what the circumstance. The Moon's in the 9th house in your D9. What does it mean? What makes you happy, feel secure, feel connected? It's religious experience, philosophy, deep understanding of the meaning of life. Without this, you do not feel fulfilled. What to speak of in your relationships, that's the thing. So any connection with any partner, spouse, long-term relationship, there has to be a similarity of the philosophical understanding. It's essential. Moon is community, so you connect to other people through your belief system, through your deep connection to philosophy, religious system, whatever. You get community connections through these things. But the moon is waxing and waning and changing. See the moon D1, how strong it is. Stronger is the moon, more connected to your religious affiliation. Weaker is the moon D1, you're switching and changing, thinking this way, that way, but still there is a deep need for connection with the divine. That's the thing, with something greater than yourself. It's a big thing. And yes, the moon can take you into foreign shores here. Ninth house spouse may come from outside of your cultural community occasionally, but the moon shows that to deeply bond with the spouse, you need to speak about these deep philosophical, religious factors. You will seek to do so, whether the spouse wants to listen or not. You cannot avoid sharing. This is the heart of who you are. It's a house of teacher, guru, so you can have a very strong emotional bond to a religious figure, teacher, or to God, or to a human being who is leading you to the divine, to some deeper understanding, definitely. But if malefics are involved, it can be very difficult. There can be misunderstanding. There can be a feeling of being let down by a teacher, guru, etc. occasionally. It's one of the three talent houses, 1, 5, 9. So there is innate talent, perhaps musical, perhaps singing talent, perhaps one musical instrument you could be excellent at. But here you need a teacher. Here you need to learn from somebody else to resurrect this talent, maybe coming from your past life. But if you stop learning, if you stop applying yourself, you could lose the talent. You need support. That's the thing, to actually bring out this incredible talent which may be there. But something else which is innate is communication, because the moon aspects third house. So you could get fame in social media through writing, through performing, through acting occasionally, because you communicate emotions with the public so well with this moon, ninth house. Family-wise, it's a bit complicated but interesting. This is a house of father's line, Pitris. Moon connects you to this father's line deeply, but moon is mother as well. If there is affliction to this moon, then your mother is having difficulty with your father's family, father's line, maybe. Again, so much else you have to see to confirm this. But you are connected to your father's line, father's ancestors deeply here. And there is almost some religious factor binding you to them. Maybe there is a debt and your religious conversion, if it is a conversion, or your religious knowledge or your religious dedication is going to help father's ancestors' family. That could be seen as well. But the ninth house D9 has a fifth house overlay. Fifth house is about teaching, giving out knowledge. So you connect to younger people, you connect to your kids, you want to teach your kids, you want to give a lot to next generation. So you can be an excellent teacher, some sort of guide, mentor to the next generation as well, actually, with this moon in the ninth house. Now, moon D9, 10th house, it's a big deal because status in life, reputation is connected to your emotional satisfaction, even to your choice of partner. You get a certain amount of fame, notice with this moon, of course, because it is driving you into the community to work with other people in the public sector, local community, whatever it is. You bond well with people in your work situation very often. But there's some conflict there because this 10th house D9 has a 6th house overlay. So you can get competitors in the workplace coming out of the woodwork. You mightn't even know they are competitors. And there is some conflict about home-work balance as well. Your deep desire is for a very private home life, but you are driven into this public service factor. The moon is mother and the mothering factor's big. Mother's having a big effect on your choice of spouse sometimes, or is influencing you, or is seeking to influence you. But there is a distance happening with the mother. sometimes through marriage occasionally with this position. At the same time, this moon is in the house fourth from the first spouse, so it is the first spouse's mother also having a big influence on you. If there are benefic aspects, it is good. If there are malefics, it can be challenging as well. And finally, what's your public reputation with this moon? You see Marie Antoinette's chart. What you say, people notice. What you do, people notice. You're on show half the time, whether you realize it or not. When the moon's in the 11th house of the D9 chart, your happiness in life, your feeling of security is coming from your social networks, from the groups in society that you choose to join. Going it alone, no way. You need to connect wider social circles. You need to share something with other people, with your community in common, and you need to be giving something back to your community as well. Moon here wants to bond with the larger community, not just friends, but beyond that. This can be religious organizations, political organizations even, but you need to belong. You need to have some goal in common with other people. Now, this house, the 11th house in the D9, relates to the 7th house, naturally, spouse house, partner. So you are very likely to meet spouse within these type of community organizations, religious, political, social, networking circles. That's how you will probably meet spouse. Or second thing is, keeping your connection with the spouse, you need to be able to both belong to these wider types of organizations. You could have some big social goal or political in common with your spouse. Now, it depends how well situated aspect is the moon here, but if the moon is well aspected, then similar goals keep you together. But if the moon is afflicted, different divergent goals in life can put you apart. So you need to have something in common with the spouse, some motivation about life in common. Now, this is true about all relationships, no matter where the moon is, obviously, but here it's especially sensitive. This is fifth away from the 7th house. So this bonds you and keeps you going with the spouse, gives you happiness together. One thing is having kids definitely bonds you together because moon aspects 5th house. Sometimes you have friends in common with your spouse, and this can be helpful. Friends who connect you together, keep you together in the community. But if there are malefics afflicting, then friends or friendship circles, network circles, community can have a negative impact on the cohesion of your relationship, particularly first, deep connection for a spouse. Sometimes going on learning courses, 5th house, with your spouse, getting educated with your spouse, having these deep learning experiences with your spouse, all of this is going to create incredible bonds between you. Moon is mother. There can be some stress with the mother over your choice of spouse occasionally. It's not always seen. Check the whole chart. But the moon 11th house is really good for your gain. If it is well aspected, benefics is always a new source of income, always a new opportunity, particularly self-employed people. You can be multi-talented. You can have more than one source of income going at any time with this moon in the 11th house. The moon's in a secretive 12th house in the D9, deep emotions, challenging emotions, connecting with the spouse. But incredible bonds can be there coming from past life connections very often. Now, spouse may come from foreign shores, or you may meet spouse when you are traveling occasionally, but moon here can send you apart a little bit in your relationship. There can be long distance relationships sometimes found because moon has a bit of a separating aspect. Doesn't mean you're going to get divorced, but you certainly do need time alone, and any relationship needs to accommodate this deep emotional need. At the least, there must be honesty, openness, not hiding emotions, feelings from your spouse or partner. This moon's a very sensitive moon, that's the thing, and you've got to be open with your spouse. Your spouse may not know what you're thinking of the time. Maybe you don't even know what you're thinking. That's another factor. Now, what do I mean by that? You know what you're thinking, but your thinking's all over the place. Mind can be all over the place with this moon, not a steady mind, a drifting mind, intuitive, lots of spiritual wisdom, deeply interested in the occult, because this house, 12th house, has an 8th house implication. Occult, astrology, mysteries of life, brilliant for everything connected to that. But the moon drifts here, so you can get into conflict with your spouse because they never know what you're thinking. 1 minute this, 1 minute that, moody. Moody factors can be the disturbing relationship. But as I say, you've got to avoid getting into negativity, because although you like to be alone, you want to make it positive, not just wasting time watching Netflix or whatever. You can get into addictive behavior, food addiction, sex addiction, Netflix addiction, any addiction at all with this moon 12th house, and it can disturb relationships. But if you travel with your spouse, 12th house, if you go into pilgrimage with your spouse, wow, this will bind you together very deeply, very often. You're a tender, caring person. You feel other people suffering as well, because moon aspects 6th house, especially bonded to pets, animals, non-humans sometimes as well. Thing is, you are here to serve as well, just like moon 6th house. You have to give something back to the community. You will feel frustrated unless you can give something back to the world, serving, helping, giving strength to other people. Even when you don't feel inner strength, you do have inner strength here, but don't waste it on those daydreams. That's the thing. Worst case scenario, this moon creates misunderstanding with your spouse because you're not even listening to them enough. You're not connected to your own emotions, let alone spouse's emotions. So, having a good sit down with your spouse, having a really deep conversation with them time to time will clear many negative factors, because this moon can become super anxious and this can even affect sleeping pattern. Best of all, though, this moon reacts immediately to peace and quiet, retreat, relaxation, foreign travel. As soon as you're on the move, virtually, as soon as you're on that train, on that plane, you sort of relax. That's the thing. Getting away from everything, escaping time to time is nothing but favorable, actually, for this moon, 12th house D9. And what's your finances? Moon is in the house of loss. Once again, whether there are malefics or benefics, it's still a little bit of a drain. Are you paying attention to your income, to what's happening with your income? Maybe if you get a spouse partner who is on top of the financial factors, this may help. The moon desires, as I say here, it's a very sensitive, caring person to be of service. But also this is a house of celibacy, 6th house. So sometimes the moon can put you into times of not having a partner, being single, going into a celibate lifestyle. That's okay. Won't be for long, probably because the moon's in the house of the bed. So there we go. Check the other D9 videos up on your screen right now. New to my channel, of course. Don't forget to sub below. Goodbye for now, and God bless you all.